Okay, let's see if we can't do some explanation of what I've been doing for FlexRPG. So, I started with a character, Ltan Honor Smiter. He's a dwarf, and in the initial playthrough that I was doing, he was like the notes inside. He was transitioning into adulthood, and the problem that he was having was that he was physically strong. The elders knew this and were going to try and force him into a job that was manual labor. Something like working on the docks or lumber um, work, something that was very physical and demanding. And Latan had no interest in doing that. He um, actually wanted to become either an alchemist or an herbologist. But it was soon discovered through using the guide that there was nothing like that within the village that he starts in, Otaliver. So he then went to, I'm going to have to start paraphrasing. He then went in search of what was around the village, and he found out that there was an enchanter nearby. And he found this out through his uncle, um, which really surprised him. So, in getting a note of introduction from his uncle, Latan went out to find this enchanter to try and learn everything he could within 2 weeks. He ended up finding them, um, talking to them, and became their um, apprentice. So, in the end, Latan came away with knowing the enchanting skill, and also because of this particular enchanter, they were also a weaponsmith and a armor smith. Latan was also able to walk out with knowing how to finish a weapon, how to design armor and weaponry, how to craft the armor, both armor in general for leather and other non metal type of armors, as well as physical or metal armor, and then also how to craft a weapon. This isn't just in blacksmithing, but also other types of weaponry, whether it be bone or wood or whatever. So now that he has that, he is on his next stage of his journey where he is going to become a full time craftsman. That's what he wants his class and career, what he does as a living, to be. But he's still way too much of a novice. He is not even out of his apprenticeship with his master, but he was told by the enchanter, his master, to go out and learn from others out in the world. Now, I don't have the map saved digitally, so that will have to happen a little bit later. And something's So something. Sorry. I'll deal with it later then. My pages weren't folding right in this book. Anyway, so I will get that map uploaded at some point in time. For now, he is starting in his starter village, and he has traveled a few tiles away in the map. And the next step that I've already done, I'm going to put it in here. Oh, that's why my tablet went to sleep. So I will put everything in online here in a little bit. There we go. So to begin with, because of the length of this journey, I'm going to simplify a lot of it by using the guide. So the first step, I'm going to break it up into sections of 4 days of travel. So the first portion does anything eventful happen during the first, I apologize for the handwriting, 4 days of travel. And when I rolled a flat out no. So nothing happens this first 4 days. Now, the second, and I'm just going to constantly refer to the steps as either, or well, as 2 for now, until I get to the last leg of the travel. So I will just simplify my notes by writing a 2 with a circle and then the roll. And then it will just mean that what I'm doing is asking this question. So every time I write a 2 with a circle, this is the question that I'm asking. Does anything eventful occur during the next 4 days? In this case, I rolled a yes. And so I asked the next question. Now, I asked it this way. Is it a creature event? So if I got a no, then what I would end up doing is coming into the rules and going to the guide and then coming down to this section here with the random table. If I didn't get a creature event, then I was going to roll in here to figure out what the event was. But because of how I asked it, I have a creature event, or is it a creature event? I actually rolled a yes on that as well. Then I decided, since I'm doing this in 4-day chunks, that I would roll for a random day using a 1d4. And it ended up being 4. So this means that on the 4th day of travel, and it's important that I broke it up by days so that I could go back to the map. I have a certain amount of distance that he can travel in a day, 2 days, or in a day, basically, depending upon whether he's traveling on unhindered land, a road, or troublesome land. Troublesome is going to include any forest, hills, or mountains. I understand that mountains should be a little bit longer, but I'm just grouping those 3 together. Those mountains, forests, and hills will take 1 day of one day. I can get through 1 square on the map. If there's unhindered land, it's 2 squares, and if I'm on a road, I can get through 3 squares of the map. So based upon that, and once you see the map, you'll understand why that's important. But he was able to travel basically 2 squares away from his village, or no, it was a little bit longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares away from his village, and he ended up having an event in between mountains and hills. So just at the base of the mountains, something of a creature encounter happened. In this case, I actually went and randomized my creatures from the bestiary, and go over to that now here, and what I actually got was, where are you? The Giant Slug. So he's encountered 3 Giant Slugs, and they have a difficulty of medium. So what that means for and this is one of the things I'm testing out, is the experience for the system. So because of the creature being medium in level 1, if I go back up to the first page, so right now the creatures aren't, I'm not scaling them because he is a low level character. He hasn't made any improvements on his attributes. He's only gained some skills, and because of the increase in level of those skills, I'm not going to advance his attributes until he actually spends some experience on it. So for now, he is still very much a newbie, lowest of the low, so I'm not going to throw anything at him that's stupidly strong. So they are 3 level 1 slugs, and that means that I will be using this for the XP value of that creature. So it is a medium level, which the value is 5, and it's a creature level of 1. That means for each of these slimes or slugs that he defeats, he will get 50 experience points from the encounter. So the first thing we're going to have to do, and let me write this out. entered 3 slugs. With a difficulty of medium. So we know what the slugs are. And those slugs are not there. Here. So the giant slug has 4 health, eight mana, and the reason why they have mana will become a little bit more important after I get some more of the scaling rules worked out. Right now, at the low levels, they basically are using their mana to see, to sense. However, it does also have eye stalks, so it's going to be an interesting creature in the fact that it can use mana as a form of visual sense as well as its eyes. And that is important because if the eye stalks are removed, the slug is still going to be able to make its way around. Later on, as it gets to being a higher level, there will be more magical attacks that the slug can do. But that's for later. Right now we just have a very basic slug. It has this is one of the important bits that I recently added to the creature, the bestiary, so that it made a little more sense. So the physical, agility, social, and mental, these numbers are the actual die pool. 2, 1, 1, 6. These are the actual pools. So whenever we go into combat, if it needs to make a physical attack, it will roll with 2 die. If it's trying to do some form of mental attack, which would be a raw magical attack, then it would use 6 die. Kind of shows you where the slug will lean towards later as it gets into higher levels, as far as what its attacks will be more potent than the other. This is a level 1, and it's a medium difficulty, which means we need to have a 5+ to hit, which it should be very doable because of how the combat works. It will, based upon Ltan, it will basically be using physical for defense, and agility to get away. But slugs aren't fast, so it will have to rely upon its physical armor, its shell, in this case, and that's because the the giant slug has a head that resembles one but of a turtle. So this slug really has a more hardened skin, close to the shell of a turtle. It still looks like a slug with a turtle head, but that's kind of what I'm going for with the slug. So, if we go back over and where is it? Take a look at Ltan again. So, he has a pool of 7. That won't necessarily immediately. He can't use all 7 die. It's just no possible way that he can use all 7 die. However, he is able to use or roll all 7 die, but then he can only use 2 die out of those rolls. And let me get some dice out. I'm not going to have these on any kind of a camera because I'm just not set up for that. Okay, I think that will be enough. I've got 5 die here. So I'll probably get my Go dice set up a little bit later so that those results can be shared. So we're going to have Ltan attack, and he's going to be attacking the one of the slugs. There's 3 to attack. I'm not worried right now about where they're at in the battlefield, other than the fact that these 3 slugs are right now coming at him. They're in line, one with the in the front, and the other 2 are kind of staggered behind it, coming out of a darkened enclosure that he could not really see. It's at the base, let's say it's at the base of a tree. So these slugs are coming at him, surprised and like irritated that something disturbed them. So I'm going to roll the dice, a total of 7 die, and I'm going to take the highest 2 rolls of those 7 die. So, and I'm going to do it this way. Ton slug. So for this first set of 5, I rolled a 2, 4, 5, 6, 6. You can't see what I rolled and what I wrote. And you really can't see that. Let's see if I can't make that bigger. The learning experience of... Okay, I guess that's as big as I can make it. That is a 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 5, 6, 6. Now I need to roll 2 more. I'm going to write a little better this time. 6 and a 2. Now, the slug only gets 2 die to defend with, and he rolled a 1 and a 2. So, I'm obviously picking 2 6s, and the slug has to choose a 1 and a 2. Ltan actually beat out those rolls. He did beat out the 5 plus with a 12. So we will go back just so I can make sure. Of what I'm about to say. Dice pulls target numbers. That's for the difficulty. Failed rolls, successful rolls. Skills, the guide. Where is combat? Okay, so here we are with to hit the attacker. In the combat rolls against their attack attribute, the goblin is attacking with a sword, so it uses the physical pool. Ltan is attacking with the axe, so he's using his physical pool, hence the 7 die. However, because of the fact that the slug only has 2 for its die pool, that's why the wait a minute. No, that's for damage. That's for damage. See, this is why I do this. I forgot that's for damage. So I did roll higher than the medium of 5 plus. So I do hit. Because I've hit, I can now go and roll damage, and that's where the two sets of rolls come in. So the slug rolled 1 and 2. I've rolled 1, 2, 5, 6, and then a 1, 1, 6. So I'll still have 2 6s for Ltan. That was 5, 2, 1, 1, 6 in the first roll, and then a 6, 1 in the second roll. I think that was the numbers I called out. Either way, I've got 2 6s. So one hit of damage. I've hit with 2 because I beat out his roll. And what were his? I'm using a hand axe, which I actually have as a 1d6 minus 2 for damage. So that's a 4 minus 2. I actually do 2 points of damage to the first slug. And looking back at the slug, that brings him down to 2. So slug 1, 1, 2, 3. Slug 1 goes from 4 to 2. The other 2 are still at full health. Now, it is that slug's turn to hit. And I'm pretty sure that I made it to where the attacker is attacking with a sword, the defender, desired pool. Okay, so I think if I didn't write it down in here, to hit an opponent, creatures will always hit. Heavily armored combatant might want to use their physical pull while agile. In order for the attacker to gain a hit, they need to roll equal to or higher than the defender's. Okay, so it is both. I need to relook at the medium. I need to relook at the medium and figure out what that is actually used for. Okay. Anyway, so the slug has 2. Oh, slug hit. First slug hit with a 6. Well, has a 6 and a 3. And now, again, Ltan has this down just kind of. Ltan has 7. So 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, and then a 6 and a 3. So Ltan has a 6 and a 4. It's a tie, and if I remember correctly, on a tie, that it is a defense because it has no equal to or higher. So it is still a hit, 1 hit. Because it's attacking with a physical attack, it's only going to be 1 point because it doesn't have a weapon. So that is 1 hit, 1 point against Ltan. And Ltan has a health of 11. So right now, go in here real fast. put 11 over here and 8 just as where I'm going to be keeping track of the damage. So it's 1 point, so he is now down to a 10. Okay. So that was the first slug. The other 2 slugs I'm going to deem aren't able to attack this first round because they are getting into position. They are now going to have Ltan kind of engaged from 3 different sides. Now, Ltan is going to try and finish up the first slug. I've got a... So on the next round, I have a 6, 3, 3, 3, 4, and a 3 and a 1. Now the slug rolls 5 and a 5. So I'm only able to get 1 hit. I had 2 hits last time. I only took 1 thing of damage. But that makes sense. Yes. Okay. I'm going to have to reword this in the manual. So all you're attempting to do is achieve a hit. It's not how many hits you get, it's just that you have achieved a hit. Yeah, I'm going to have to work that out a little bit better. Okay. Anyway, so he hit, and he did 4 again. So this slime is now, or slug, I'm calling it a slime. This slug is now gone. Now we go with slug 2. And slug 2 rolls a 2 and a 2. Oops. Down a little lower. And Ltan's first roll of 5. Okay, I'm not even going to roll the extra 2. 5, 5, 1, 3, 2. So these ones are over that one. That slug does not do any damage, or does not get a hit. Slime 3 gets a 1 and a 1. And again, Ltan rolled a 5, 2, 2, 2, 1. So that slime or slug does not do any damage. Now we're going back over to Ltan, who's going to go after slug 3. And we have a 6, 2, 2, 1, 3 with a 5, 2. So slug 3 has a 3 and a 1, which these 2 beat it. So he gets 1d6, and that was actually a 6 minus 2, which is 4. Slug number 3 is out of the picture. And now we go back over to 2. Slug 2 has a 2 and a 3. And we go to Ltan's 6, 6, 5, 3, 1, which I'm not even going to worry about. The 2 6s beat out 2 and a 3. So now we're on Ltan's attack. And this is a 5, 4, 2, 4, 1. And a 5, 2. And now the slug really needs 2 6s, and he got 2 4s. So the 5s mean that Ltan hits, and he does 4 points of damage, minus 2. So this slug is at 2. Now for the attack of the slug. we have a 5-2. Ltan's defense. Oh, this is not going to be good. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. 3 and a 3. Dice do not like me right now. Yeah, 5 and a 2. So I block 1. He gets me on 1, so he hits Ltan for another point of damage. So we knock him down to 9 now instead of the 10 that he was. Alright. Now let's see if we can't make this end. Ltan's turn. Okay, I've got 2 6s. 6, 6, 5, 5, 3, so I'm not rolling anymore for Ltan. The slug needs 2 6s. The slug got 2 6s. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's equal to or higher. So he actually hits, and now I need a 6, or actually gets a 5. So that's -2, so that's 3. Okay. So Ltan in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, roughly. Took him 5 rounds to defeat the 3 slimes. But he did defeat the slimes. So, going back to the Bestiary, where we have medium challenge. I've got to work this out. This didn't make sense to me coming back to it, so I've really got to work out the difficulty and understand how I can get this to work with the dice and everything. But because of that, he gets the 50 points. Their creature level 1, difficulty level was 5 times the 10. Oh, that's what it was. No. That's the levels for scaling. I've got to. Okay. Anyway, so I get 150 points for the 3 slugs. And I think that I'm going to end this at this point, so that I can go and work out a few of the other issues that I have now discovered, because there are some things that need to be added so that it can be corrected in the documentation. And that's why this is still a beta kind of rule sets right now. Okay, so this is going to be experience. And right now he has 150 points. And let me get this centered here. Centered there. And I should center it at least here as well. Oops. Get that to the right character. Alright, Now, if we look at this, there we go. Ltan Honor Smiter, he is a dwarf, and his experience right now is 150. You know what? I think that I'm actually... I'll do this later. But that is a quick look at combat. Obviously, I need to work on it a little bit better. So that I can get the difficulty levels worked in a little bit better, because that was a little unclear, as well as how they're used up into the combat, and make sure that the combat makes sense as well. So we will go, and I'll go and take a look at that a little bit more in depth and get that figured out. But for now, hopefully this helped a little bit more into some of the paths that my brain has been taking on this system. How I'm trying to make it a little more, it may look like it's, you know, a lot of math, but I'm trying to get it to where the math is simple, and then it will also be robust enough that things can scale easily once a few practice rounds or uses of the formulas have been done. Because it just needs to be, I wanted it to be a pretty quick system that would allow just using D6s, so that there wouldn't be a lot of overhead or too many resources that would need to be bought. You can get a D6 at a dollar store, like 5 or 6 of them for $1. So might not be the best, but it would at least get somebody started. So hopefully this helps with some of the stuff. If anything is even more confusing, I apologize. Let me know, and until I can get another one out. To those who watch, thank you.